Welcome into Gun Talk Nation.
It's time.
That was my best.
Welcome.
Ed McMahon. Today's Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Springfield Armory. They make guns. And also Leupold. They make optics. Those are not their official taglines.
No, it's not their official taglines.
That's just Ryan Gresham giving them that marketing gold right there. So
just bill him later. Just bill him later.
So today on the show.
Hey, we've got Josh Lance, and he is a longtime friend and 20 plus years of outdoor dedicated service, like for our entire industry. He spans both the fishing world and the shooting sports world.
I like to fish.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I go out in my backyard every night and I just look at the pond out and I'm just like, well, I got to go fish it.
KJ catches the same 4 fish every day.
I probably do.
They are worn out.
Yeah. But Josh, welcome in.
The Johnny Morris starter kit.
Yes, absolutely. But recently, Josh had sent out a press release, and we get these quite a bit, but these kind of intrigue me because they do a lot of work with Howard Light, and if
everybody knows Howard Light,
I mean they're a standard in the if you want to save your hearing for later on in life. Yep,
electronic muffs.
You probably own a pair of Howard Lights.
You probably do. It's kind of like it's the Kleenex of hearing muffs or something like that. I think that's meant to be a compliment.
Yes,
you're on a roll, Ryan, with the marketing gold. Man.
I know, just throwing it out there. Just there it is. So yeah, man, hearing protection. It's the sexiest of all topics for shooters. But in all seriousness, having your ears ring is not fun.
No. You know, it's something I've become passionate about since I got involved with this brand. You know, I was like everybody else. You know, some of the things that I've learned is that, you know, we all take care of our ears when we go to the range, right? Because it's required. Mm-hmm. And we put our muffs on or we put the plugs in and we assume we're good. You might not be, depending on where you're shooting and what you're shooting. So today, you know, I want to try to make it as interesting as possible because it really is fascinating. You know, talk a little bit about the noise reduction rating, which is the convention that's used for establishing the performance of hearing protection products in North America. The other thing that I learned, guys, is that, you know, we don't lose our hearing typically when we're at the range because, again, we're usually protected. You know, most people, you talk to anybody that you've known that's hunted, you know, for the past 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
They're hearing in the waterfowl blind.
Oh, yeah. You're shooting next to people. Nobody, typically in the past, traditionally, people don't wear hearing protection there. And I started doing it a number of years ago, and I still haven't maybe perfected it. But I started wearing plugs or something, and I'd get like funny looks. I'm putting on shooting glasses, put on plugs. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude. I don't want my ears to ring.
Remember that last time you rung my bell?
Yeah.
You shot across me when those teal rolled through or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's my goal on the PR side of things. You know, if I can tell that story to enough hunters over and over and over again about taking care of your ears when you're in the field because they're the only ones you have, you know, I feel like I'm making a difference and you know, there's room for everybody. To talk and communicate about.
And I think one of the big things that guys don't realize that don't wear, I'm going to throw myself into that boat because I don't always do it because it's the last thing I typically think about when I'm in the field is I need hearing muffs. But when those ducks are coming in or those geese are coming in or whatever's coming in, you forget about your hearing. Like that's the last thing. And when those guns are going off, it may not seem like a big deal then.
Right.
Because that adrenaline's going and you're locked in.
Yeah.
You may not notice it.
Well, and then later that day, you're like, why am I hearing this?
Yeah.
I actually.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually have a story So a couple years ago, my wife, she'll do pistol shooting classes every couple years, and I was helping her get ready for it, and I kind of threw a bunch of stuff in a bag, and it was her and my sister-in-law, so I was kind of having to gather even more gear into a couple of different range bags for them. They go out to they do a whole day of pistol shooting, and then she comes back and it was great, and she's later that night she's going, God, my ears are still ringing. I mean,
really?
I said, what do you mean still ringing? She goes, oh yeah, they started ringing during the class, and I was like, and I said, what is the deal? And turns out it was my fault. Well, a little bit my fault. I had thrown in some muffs that were like seriously like they probably were like $10 electronic. $10 electronic. That tells you how much quality they were.
Yeah.
They were junk. And I just was trying to gather all this stuff up. And I said, well, didn't you notice that it wasn't protecting your ears? She goes, yeah. I mean, I was wincing when I was shooting with other people shooting, but I just thought that that's what it was supposed to do. I just thought that I'm like, no, babe.
How long did it take for the ringing to go?
It was
away?
like a day or two that she had some ringing. Now, she also, has that because she's been to a lot of Henry Rollins concerts and stuff like that too. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, and she didn't know. And it's like, no, guys, you shouldn't have ringing in your ears after you shoot or after you hunt.
No, and that's a sign. I mean, they call it a painless loss. It happens gradually. Nobody loses their hearing just like that. It happens gradually, time and time again from that. And you can have hearing damage, from one muzzle blast or standing too close to Rollins' amplifier,
Right.
The nice thing about the electronic muffs these days is, Kevin, you're talking about wing shooting, being in the duck blind. That's a social event. Dove hunts are social events. You're talking, you're upland hunting. You're talking back and forth as you walk in the pheasant fields. You can turn up the amplification on your electronic muffs, make great conversation. If you're at the range, you can hear everything that's going on, but it does its job, when the muzzle blast happens. So that's the big plus for electronic Ear Pro.
Oh, I love electronic muffs.
And they've come such a far way. And I think gone are the days of, well, I can't get a good cheek weld. I can't get a good position on my gun. They're a lot trimmer than they used to be, and I think they're only going to get better as time goes on. But I think that excuse of, well, they just aren't that comfortable, and I think that's a old wives' tale now, is that they're not comfortable.
Well, and if they're electronic, you can hear everybody around you. Well, and also it used to be electronic muffs were pretty expensive, huh, Josh?
Yep.
Yeah, they were, and the prices come down. The one thing that I would say, if you're shopping for electronic muffs, listeners that are out there, they have some, they're maybe going to try some for the first time, buy, whether it's Howard Light or another reputable brand, buy a reputable brand, because there's so much stuff rolling out of China these days that is mislabeled.
Don't buy the bargain basement.
Like you said, don't buy the $10 ones because they're not going to protect you. And there have been studies done. The noise reduction rating, I mentioned that earlier. That's on the packaging of every hearing protection device that's out there. Here's some super light plugs, 33 noise reduction rating for the foam plugs. That's about as high as you can get in any hearing device, 33. So when you use foam plugs and you insert them correctly, which is the other problem.
I want to talk about this.
I know where you're going with this, and I was going to ask the same thing.
Yes. 33 is if you insert them correctly. And
that's exactly
the
right.
way it was explained to me, Josh, actually, and I'll be honest, obviously I've been shooting all my life, and it was only maybe 4 or 5 years ago I had somebody say, if you can see a bunch of the plug, you don't have them in right. They're not in all the way.
Key. If you're facing somebody, you shouldn't be able to see the plug sticking out of their ear at all.
Right.
If they are, they're not in right. So, I've had a great time educating people at shoots, on how to put foam earplugs in.
Yeah. It seems like basic stuff, but God, you see people and it's like once you know that, you see these plugs and they're just hanging out floppy, you're going, they're not doing much for you at all.
Yep. Yep. So there's actually a video on Howard Light Shooting Sports and how to put foam earplugs in, and there's probably some other great videos that are out there too. But that's definitely worth a watch, for people that have been using them wrong. And about 85% of people that use foam plugs do insert them incorrectly.
And when you use them right, they're awesome. I mean, you can honestly, it's great when you're shooting real loud stuff or indoors to even double up. But if you have the plugs in the right way,
yes,
they'll do most of the job for you.
Yep. So let's get into some of the geekery, as you said.
Yes.
Ryan. Yes. So with noise reduction rating, here's an interesting fact: acoustic energy doubles every 3 decibels. Okay, so if you take a muff like Howard Light Impact Pro, which is one of the most popular electronic hearing protection out there, that's a 22 NRR. It's suitable for a wide variety of shooting situations. You go to a 30 NRR electronic muff, that's what? 25 is 3 decibels, 28, almost 3 times. That's 600%. This
600% difference.
More protection than a 22. And if you apply that to a firearm, you have a 22, rimfire 22 that might make 140 decibels, at the muzzle blast.
Right.
A gun that does 143 decibels is twice as loud.
Isn't that crazy? Okay. It's not
and there's rifles
linear.
Up to 156, 160 decibels. So don't assume that you're protected. Think about the firearm that you're shooting. Think about whether you're indoors, outdoors. If you're covered, you're getting reverberation. These 30 NRR electronic muffs, these are the Impact Pro from Howard Light, but there's some other great ones out there too. Yes, the ear cups are thicker. They're not as sleek and sexy as Impact Pro is. That's fine with me. They haven't caused me a problem at all. I want to take care of my ears.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up to illustrate, the significant difference in jumping from a product that's labeled, 22 or 23 NRR up to 30 or 33 NRR.
Yeah, it's a great point.
And I think a lot of guys, I used to be this way when I would mow lawns. I would just go out and mow the lawns, and then I'd see these guys, and they had these big earmuffs on, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, it's not that bad. Man, over time, it makes a difference. Yeah. And they're actually the smart guys. They're actually ones wanting to maintain that hearing.
I save my hearing loss for the gigs I play. Although I don't have as loud of a gigs now, but that's where I get the ear ringing. And
we went to a concert. We went to a concert together, and you brought plugs.
I do bring plugs to concerts.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So Josh, I play drums and sing and stuff and play in bands. And that's a trickier deal. There are solutions for musicians, but for your, bottom basement gigging like I do sometimes, it's.
But man, I think it's something that people take advantage of until it's too late.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's not reversible. Like, it's irreversible, right?
It is. So for your young listeners that are listening to you right now in their 20s and they're saying, man, these old guys wear foam plugs to rock concerts.
Right.
Yeah. And you should too if you want to be able to hear. Some guys take pride in not, being able to hear what their wife says to them all the time, but I want to know what's going on.
Yeah. And I do have, and Ryan's heard me tell this story, and you guys, everybody listening has probably heard me tell the story about my son's first deer. I take him out to the range, and he's got the electronic muffs on, and, he's shooting really good and not flinching a lot. And we get out to the deer blind, and, he's sitting there, and the deer comes up, and I'm like, shoot it. And it's perfectly broadside at like 75 yards. Shoot it. And he's sitting there waiting. And he goes, Dad, I want my hearing muffs.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me he couldn't hear you because he had his plugs in.
No, he waited until he's like, and I asked him after, I was like, that's good. I'm glad that you understand that hurts.
Right.
It's great to see more young people caring about their hearing. 'Cause when you and I were that age. I mean, now you're a little bit different because you grew up around, Tom Gresham and Grits.
Doing it the right way. Safety.
Doing it the right way. You were always, but my dad's running a chainsaw with, no hearing protection. And I'm sitting like 10 feet from him, about to get hit in the face with a tree limb because I'm not paying attention. I'm poking worms in the ground. So it's, it's a different age. And I think the electronic muffs opens a lot of people's view on.
So Josh, you were talking about different environments. If just a little pro tip for you, if you can feel the fillings in your teeth falling out, you may need to double up. Yeah. One of the loudest places that I've ever been shooting is SHOT Show Range Day.
Oh.
They have the little section that is the long range rifle section at the top of the hill, and it's all covered, and the roof is like maybe, I don't know, 6 feet tall. It's very low, very low roof. And that's when everybody brings out the big guns so they can really show off their stuff. And it's big muzzle brakes, 338 Lapua, 50 BMGs. And I mean, seriously, I couldn't stand under there, even with hearing protection on, for more than a minute. And I was like, I got to get out of here. This is crazy. Yeah,
when you can feel your hair move when they pull it off from 15 feet away.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so you mentioned doubling up. That's a great practice, and sometimes that's something that people should think about. One thing I'll tell you is that, again, the strange way that the logarithmic scale that decibels and all that follows, you're not going to get twice the protection. So in other words, if you have plugs in, foamies in that are 30 NRR, and you put your 22s on top of it, you're not going to have a total noise reduction rating of 52. It doesn't work that way. It's more like you'll gain another 3 to 4 decibels.
Wow.
Which,
really?
Again, I told you 3 decibels is significant. That's twice the protection.
Yeah. But you're not cutting out 55 decibels or something like that.
Correct.
I'm telling you, I just spent, good electronic hearing is extremely important. I just spent the last 3 days around constant, giant breaks at a PRS match.
Yeah.
And with 80,000 rounds over 2 days is how many, rounds were going down range. And you're right, man, walking through the line and those low coverings, oh my gosh, it just jars your teeth. It jars your hearing. Even if you've got good hearing protection. I mean, there's still a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yep. Can I tell you guys one more thing that I think a lot of your listeners might not know?
Yeah.
So I can only speak to Howard Light products because those are the ones that I'm familiar with. But there's a lot of aftermarket stuff that's out there for electronic muffs, and they're great. The gel cushions and stuff are great. Those definitely make things more comfortable. But in Howard Light's case, and I have to imagine most of the other manufacturers, the ear cushions that are inside the ear cups are part of the design that deliver the performance of the product. So without getting down too far of a rabbit hole, I just want people to realize when they start monkeying with their ear cushions, they're probably not going to have as much NRR as is on their packaging. And
Good
that's
point.
fine,
Really?
as long as people know it. But again, it's not something that gets talked about a lot.
Well,
Not a lot at all.
and as much as we're at the range, with sun, with sweat, with sunscreen, I've had it where those cushions get really hard, and then you kind of start noticing I'm not getting as much of a seal as I was before. I can feel and hear these guns a lot more.
So I guess the question would be what's the proper maintenance of your electronic muffs? How should you maintain them?
For the ear cushions, first of all, they're replaceable, and I got to believe most of the other manufacturers they're replaceable as well. Like I know when you order the Impact Sport Bolt, they give you 2 sets. But the other thing you can do is there's products out there. Again, in Honeywell Howard Light's case, they're called what are they called? Cool pads. So they're not the gel, but they're almost like a moleskin, like a white moleskin. And you can put those over the surface. They don't impact the performance of the muffs. And again, they keep that hard vinyl away from your sweaty face and make it a little bit more comfortable and make your ear cushions last a little bit longer. So there are products like that's out there. But if you certainly, Kevin, to answer your question, if you notice your ear cushions, whatever model you're wearing, are cracked, then the performance is compromised, and it's time to either replace the cushions or look for a new set of muffs.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So what kind of, I know we talked about the hearing protection side of things. What kind of shooting you guys been doing up there? Hunting, shooting, guns, any new guns you've been playing with?
Yeah. So Ryan, I'm a homebody hunter. I'm more of a hunter than a shooting sports guy. If I'm at the range, I'm making sure my muzzle loader is dialed in, or making sure that I'm still proficient with my my concealed carry gun.
Yeah.
You know, those two reasons. So I haven't got to actually shoot a lot of new stuff. And as you know, this past year, we haven't been going to shows and events, and we did SHOT Show in last year. But I was tied up in a booth and didn't get to see a whole lot. But I'm getting ready for bow season here. I hunt in northern Indiana and got a lot of big deer moving around, and hopefully we'll get it done.
See, that's
I shoot a deer about once every 3 seasons. So
with a bow?
Yeah.
Is that on purpose or?
Yeah, it's on purpose. I'm very picky.
I mean, that's a good way to do it.
KJ should be picky, but he's got that bloodlust.
I do.
Yeah.
I enjoy eating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
I do too. I let my kids, they shoot whatever they want, so we get a deer for the freezer. But
yeah. Or you just get lazy. You don't want to clean it. That's what it is.
No. I'm always up for cleaning deer. I love cleaning deer. But just going back to the, bow hunting, you don't have to have hearing protection.
Well, that is true. That is true. Yeah. But you only get to shoot a deer every 3 years.
No, that's him.
It's Josh Lance.
That's the Josh Lance model of deer conservation. That's not me.
No, that's another thing. Just talking about like new guns and everything. Brakes are on everything. We were just shooting the new Springfield Armory Waypoint rifle, the 2020 model, and it's great. It does have a brake on it. Now that I think about it, I don't recall it being loud, but I think maybe we were hearing protection most of the time when shooting it.
I'm telling you what, I notice it. It'll hurt your teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the design
and
of the
brake. A lot of
hunters,
that's real bad. A lot of hunters hunt with the brake on, and they also hunt without hearing protection.
Nope.
It's like double whammy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I go the other direction. I'm a fan of suppressors for that reason too.
Totally.
Yes. As far as hearing protection goes.
Actually, did we have a suppressor on the Waypoint? I can't remember.
No, we didn't. I gave you that option. I said, well, we were leaving the range. I was like, man, we talked about it.
We hadn't sighted it in with the suppressor. And if you don't know, if you're listening, there will be a bullet impact shift when you put a suppressor on the gun. Usually it's consistent. It's take it off, take it on. And it's always 2 inches low and left on that particular gun with that suppressor or whatever. But didn't want to mess with it at that point. We had it sighted in. Don't mess with a good thing.
And again, the problem is we were out there. Guess what? Neither one of us was wearing.
Oh, on the hunt?
Yeah. Were you wearing them and I didn't notice it?
KJ, the self-disclosure.
I tell you, I'm the worst at it, and I should be the best at it, and it's something that I struggle with.
No, I guess we weren't.
See, we got.
So what's funny is, again, what we were saying, you shoot all that stuff and you don't notice it at the time. I didn't notice it, and I don't. I will say we were out in the wide open. Maybe it was helpful for that reason. I don't remember it being a problem. We just had the one gun. But what's funny is, so for us, we shoot an antelope in this case. One shot, he goes down, it's done. And then the camera guy goes, hey, I want to get some slow-mo of the gun going off. So now you have no antelope to aim at. You're not just like total auditory exclusion because you're just so focused on the animal. And now it's like, who cares? Just yank the trigger. We just want slow-mo.
Yeah.
Now the gun's super loud.
Yeah.
And after like 2 or 3 shots, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well,
this hurts.
Think about this. So you're dialed in. I'm spotting for you. That gun was loud. I felt it in my head.
Yeah.
It was so loud because I'm sitting next to you, and where that
I had the muzzle rested right on top of his head. So you know, it's a flat brim. He wears the flat brim. You know, that's for aiming.
That's why I wear it, so you can have a bench rest.
Yeah, I just put the muzzle right there across his brim. Don't do this at home, kids.
No, please don't. But no, I mean, now that I think about it, I remember like thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like. That sucks to stand where I was.
He was kind of like right next to me.
Yes.
And I do recall as I took a knee and started breathing, out of the corner of my eye, I see KJ putting his fingers in his ears. Oh, God, here it comes.
Yep.
So what works better, electronic earmuffs, bullet casings, or fingers?
Fingers are not bad if you insert them the right way.
Yeah,
that's correct.
The deal.
Fingers can be good.
But it's something.
But it's really hard to shoot with fingers in your ears.
The thing about the foam plugs that are different than fingers is so they've got the tiny little air spaces inside the foam. And that's a design consideration. It fractures and refractures those sound waves over and over again. So I would think the foamies are going to be better than your fingers are. Certainly better than bullet casings.
Yeah. See, wow. I didn't know that there's.
So whatever, if in a pinch, whatever you got, man.
Yeah,
just something. Not a megaphone.
But yeah, not 9mm casings are not hearing protection. Come on. You see that?
So, you know, thankfully, we're at a point like everything else with the products that we look at, you know, from the clothing that's available, you know, to the gear. We're in the golden age, right?
True.
Material and
quality stuff.
Products. So my message for shooting sports enthusiasts and hunters is that whatever excuse you have for not wearing your hearing protection, it's not holding water anymore because there's a product that's made for what you do.
Right.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
You know, I guess the other thing that I would want, you know, to leave with you guys and your listeners is, you know, one of the silver linings of this COVID deal is, you know, I work in the fishing industry too. We have some 8 to 10 million new anglers right now that we didn't have last year.
Wow.
Most of the estimates I'm seeing now, you guys maybe have seen something that I haven't, but I've heard, you know, somewhere around 5 million new shooting sports.
Yeah, new gunners. Yeah.
In the country. The best thing that we can do when we take those folks or anybody new, young, old, whatever, is give them a product with a high noise reduction rating, like these Impact Pros at 30. Give them something that is going to block that noise out so they have a good experience, unlike your wife recently had.
My bad. Yeah, sorry, babe. No, that's a great point, Josh, because if they're wearing, it's like if you bring a 10-year-old kid out and give him a 12 gauge. That's just wrong. It's just mean. He's going to be scared of the gun. It's going to beat him up, and he's not starting out the right way.
He'll hold it over your head forever.
And if you wear good hearing protection, part of the thing that is people don't realize is they're worried about the noise. The noise scares them, and it's part of that concussion. It's part of the felt recoil. I'm not sure if I'm saying it the right way, but I think it is. If you can you can reduce the noise, you reduce the, oh my God, this explosion's going off. And that's a great point. They're going to have a better experience with it. And the problem is a lot of people will go out, a lot of parts of the country are rural, and it's like, let's go out to the backyard and let's shoot the gun a little bit.
Nope.
And they don't bother with eye protection or hearing protection or whatever. But if you do that, they're going to shoot better too, which is going to
absolutely,
they're going to enjoy it more that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Josh, thanks for being on with us, man.
Save your hearing.
You guys are my heroes. Appreciate everything that you do.
Well, obviously, there's something wrong with Josh. This
Apparently,
just
he's
latest statement.
been drinking early.
Yeah, you don't know what I was doing today.
Got nothing else to
Give
do.
your lucky listeners some of those Impact Sport Honor Collection muffs.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll get them out there.
Cool. One last thought on this is the first part of your hearing that tends to go are the high frequencies. And it may not matter to you when you're younger. You may not think about it. But the high frequencies when you're a parent or a grandparent are those little kids. And you want to be able to hear them. And it's when you're a little bit older that you're going to start noticing that hearing going. And that's the stuff, like Josh said, you can't get it back. So,
dang, you just like ended it deep.
Wear your hearing protection,
Gosh.
guys.
No.
Yep.
That's it for us. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.